This video is to help you understand the slope of a straight line. Let's go ahead and look at what exactly slope means. Slope is simply steepness of a straight line. The steeper the line, the greater the slope. And slope is calculated using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And slope is represented by a variable m, a lowercase m. And slope is also the ratio of rise to run. Now looking at the picture on the frame, I see it's a ladder. It's definitely not straight. I know it has a slope. Now let's go ahead and see how to calculate the slope of this ladder. So that ladder has a slope, it has a rise, it has a run, right? And rise is the vertical distance, run is the horizontal distance. So the slope of the ladder simply describes the steepness of the ladder. Rise in this case is 6 feet and the run is 2 feet. So the slope is rise over run, which would be 6 over 2, and that is 3. So slope exactly of any line would simply be the rise over run of line. So it's the vertical change over the horizontal change. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how to find the slope of a graph. So if I want to find the slope of this line, I take 2 points on the line, -2, +2, and x2, x1. So now I'm trying to find the slope of this line. And I could use a formula to find the slope, or I could find the slope of the line from the graph itself. So if I want to find the slope of the line from the graph, I'm simply going to have the rise over the run, correct? Slope. So the rise in this case is 1, 2, 3, 4. The run is 1, 2, 3. So slope of this line is simply 4 over 3, which is rise over run. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this is. The rise is and run is, rise is 4, the run is 3. Rise is change in y, which is 2 minus 2, which is 4. And the run is change in x values, which is 1, negative of -2, which is 3. So the slope is 4 over 3. And again, slope is simply rise over run, vertical change over horizontal change, and that is the formula for slope. Now let's go ahead and see some special lines. There will be cases where we have no slope and infinite slope, and those are special lines. So let me go ahead and erase this one. I don't want this to be confusing here. I'm simply going to go ahead and erase this. And let's go ahead and start now. So if I want to graph a horizontal line, and that is a horizontal line, and again, so many ways of looking at it. When I look at the rise of this line doesn't have any rise. See, there's no rise, there's only run. So the rise would be technically 0. And the run, if I take 2 points, I can go ahead and calculate the run. But it doesn't matter. If the numerator is 0, the whole thing is going to be 0. So the slope of this line would technically be 0. Now let's go ahead and see how it's calculated using the 2 points y2 and y1. So now if I take 2 points on the line, which would be -1 and 2, and 2 and 2. And the slope is again rise, change in y coordinates, which is 0. Run, change in x coordinates, which is 3. So the slope is 0 over 3, which is 0. All right. So now let's go ahead and look at vertical lines. Now if I'm going to draw a vertical line passing through x is equal to 1, and again, so many ways of finding the slope, I'm simply going to go ahead and see this line has a rise, but it does not have a run. So I'm going to say, I don't care what the rise is, but the run is 0. If I see 0 in the denominator, the whole thing becomes undefined. So I don't even bother looking at what the rise is. I know the run is 0, so anything over 0 would be undefined. Now let's go ahead and see how to find it using the formula. I'm just going to erase this one so I can have space for the formula to come in. And if I take 2 points on the line, 1 and 2, 1 and -1, the rise is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which would be 3. And the run is x2 minus x1, 1 minus 1, which is 0. So the slope is 3 over 0, which is again undefined. So there's so many different ways of looking at vertical, horizontal lines and slope. Now let's go ahead and compare the slopes. So I have 2 lines here, and I'm trying to compare the slope of these 2 lines. So greater than 0 and less than 0. Now let me go ahead and show you. One line is going up. That means the line's increasing. So the slope is going to be greater than 0. If I have another line, let me go ahead and change the color. If I have another line that is from left to right, always from left to right, the line is decreasing, so the slope is going to be less than 0. Okay, one basic rule of slope: if a line is increasing or it's going upward from left to right, the slope is going to be positive. If the line is decreasing, then the slope is going to be negative. So let me go ahead and erase these. Let me increase the size of the eraser so I can erase it. All right. And now that's one most important thing we're going to look at the slope. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the difference in slopes. So now I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a second. You see that when I look at the line, when I look at these 2 lines here, slope A, this is the line slope A, it looks steeper than slope B. So when I calculate the slope of line A, I get 3 over 2. When I calculate the slope of line B, I get 1 over 2. So I'm technically looking at the absolute values of the slopes. One is 3 over 2 and one is half. The steeper the line, the greater the slope. All right? Okay, now let's go ahead and finish this one. So the steeper the line, the greater the slope. The greater the slope, the steeper the line. Now let's go ahead and look at an example, but let me go ahead and erase this one first. So I have a graph that shows a distance traveled by a car in 1 hour, and find the slope of the line shown in the graph. What is the distance traveled by the car in 1 minute? So remember, whenever you're trying to find the slopes, the independent variable has to be on x-axis and the dependent variable has to be on y-axis. So here the independent variable is the time, so time is on x-axis. The distance depends on the time, so that it is on y-axis. Let's go ahead and see how do we calculate the slope. So now I'm going to click on the solution of this one. So we're going to select 2 points on the line, right? I selected those 2 points. And then what do I do? Once I have these 2 points, I'm going to plug into the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then simply find the slope, right? Slope is rise over run, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and the slope I enter is 10 over 15, which is 2 over 3, so 2 over 3. Always in simplified version. So the slope of the line is 2 over 3. What does that mean? That means the car travels 2/3 of a mile in 1 minute. Hope this video helps in understanding the slopes and the rise over run of the slopes, calculating the slopes. Thank you.